Hello, my name is Greg, and my topic is why digitally mediated political action is an asset to democracy. Walter Lippmann gives an interesting perspective of the connection between political action and democratic legitimacy prior to the emergence of digital media. His perspective is pessimistic, arguing that we should abandon the hope of public political action delivering democratic legitimacy. He defines sovereignty as a fictional belief of individual power and describes the citizens as limited and ineffective as they are not informed nor experienced, and instead they are more like a deaf spectator. He states how every citizen, quote, lives in a world which he cannot see, does not understand, and is unable to direct. He goes on to claim that the citizens realizing their ineffectiveness would lead to disenchantment, which he defines as despair which causes political inaction. He provides an example of this concept with how throughout elections in the early 20th century, the voter turnout had been steadily decreasing, and how a strong effort to improve voter turnout in 1924 was ineffective. He consequently argues that because of this, laws emerging through direct democracy are illegitimate, and we should go about an alternative route of organizing laws. An example of a law that Lippmann would consider to be illegitimate would be citizens voting on a farming tax. And according to Lippmann, a better alternative would be farmers and economists instead voting on a farming tax. And in this example, the legislation that emerges is through voting by specialists rather than the common citizens. The recent emergence of digital media, though, causes democracy to function differently than beforehand, and my thesis of this presentation is that digital media allows for more informed and widespread political participation, making democratic laws more legitimate. My first claim leading up to my thesis is that digital media is a quick and accessible way to gather desired information. Don Fallis in Wiki Epistemology touches on this claim when he alludes to how much more accessible Wikipedia is compared to physical encyclopedias. And with sites such as Google or Bing, people are effectively able to access relevant information within seconds. The accessibility of information is further shown with how, according to the Pew Research Center, 89% of Americans use the internet, and 98% of 18 to 26-year-olds in America are using the internet. And this chart in the right-hand corner shows how the amount of people not using the internet is only decreasing with time. And the contrast between the internet and pre-internet information acquisition is shown with how Lippmann characterizes the gathering of information before the emergence of the internet as reading the reports that drift across his doorstep or all the dispatches in his newspaper. Therefore, this form of information gathering is much more time-consuming, and in contrast, by searching something on Google or Bing, people could get the same type of information within seconds. Therefore, as a result of digital media, people can effectively communicate and share knowledge based on gathered information, leading them to become more informed and participant. This is shown through communication on sites such as Blogger, Reddit, and Twitter, where people are effectively able to share their opinions and perspectives upon various relevant topics. Clay Shirky in Weblogs and the Amateurization of Publishing discusses the effectiveness and efficiency of digital communication with how weblogs essentially rids of the filtering and costliness of print publishing. Wikipedia is another effective platform for sharing knowledge on various topics, and Don Fallis in Wiki Epistemology discusses how Wikipedia is essentially a good and reliable source, and he states that what makes Wikipedia such a powerful site is that there's group collaboration ongoing around the clock. Therefore, in contrast to the pre-digital era, people are less like deaf spectators, and they are more informed and participant citizens. They would be informed of current societal issues and the opinions and perspectives of various experts. This could essentially prevent disenchantment that was present in the pre-digital era, as explained by Walter Lippmann. Therefore, people through sites such as Twitter, Blogger, and Reddit continuously communicate, sharing information and perspectives, and as a result of the high amount of communication, people are capable of coming to a consensus on various issues with a low amount of bias, since people are considering the various perspectives and information they were exposed to via the internet. Effective openness of information sharing, which the internet has the capacity to serve, would prevent bias from occurring. An example of this is shown by Don Fallis with Wikipedia when he states that, quote, large and decentralized groups made up of diverse and independent members seem to be very good at getting the right answer to many questions. Therefore, essentially a high amount of interaction between people of various perspectives and knowledge are effective at coming to a good answer. Therefore, as a product of their internet use, citizens can make a reasonable voting decision which would give legislation more legitimacy. This consensus on a voting decision would be similar to the wisdom of crowds as shown with Wikipedia. And due to the internet, disenchantment would be less prevalent among the citizenry. Therefore, there would be a greater consensus among the general population, making the laws more accepted and legitimate. In summary, the topic of this presentation is why is digitally mediated political action an asset to democracy? Lippmann provides a perspective of democracy prior to digital media, where he states that every citizen lives in a world which he cannot see, does not understand, and is unable to direct. And my thesis is that digital media allows for more informed and widespread political participation, making democratic laws more legitimate, which is in contrast to the time before the emergence of the internet. And the claims that had led up to my thesis are, first, digital media is a quick and accessible way to gather desired information. Second, based on gathered information, people can effectively communicate and share knowledge on digital media. Third, due to the high amount of communication, collective opinions may be formed with low bias. And fourth, as a product of their internet use, citizens can make a reasonable voting decision which would give legislation more legitimate, making democratic laws more legitimate. Therefore, in conclusion, digital media makes information collection and political action more efficient, making it overall an asset to democracy. And these are my sources used. Thank you.